Hello, welcome everybody. Lots of people trying to get into this talk. I know in-housing is a particularly interesting topic right now. So today, just to give you an introduction to the session, in this brave new world of branding, recent reports from the USA and Europe reveal an unprecedented rise in the number of brands with in-house creative teams. 82% in the USA and 76% in mainland Europe. Contrary to popular belief, this shift isn't just about saving money, and it is a pendulum which isn't swinging back anytime soon. Today, the boldest brands know how to unlock the real value of embedding creators within their organization, which is revolutionizing the creative landscape as we know it. So on stage with me today are in-house creative leaders from three of the best, award-winning, Matt, you picked up at Cannes the other week, congratulations, and the most mature in-house creative team, certainly in the UK, if not the world. So let's hear from them what's really going on in the in-house landscape. First of all, quick introduction. Let's start with you, Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Perkins, and I head up Lego agency for the Lego Group in London.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon Kolkstein. I'm with Unilever. I'm the global head of U Studio, Unilever's in-house global agency network.
Hi, I'm Matt. I head up the PepsiCo's in-house agency, Sips and Bites, for Europe.
Thank you. So I wanted to structure this session today by busting some of the common industry myths that are going around at the minute, and for you to all hear firsthand what's really going on in-house. So my first myth is in-house creative teams are created to save costs. Emma, do you want to answer this myth first?
I think a lot of in-house agencies' starting point is, how can we be faster and cheaper? So bringing in-house capabilities can start there, but it's not where the real value sits. So for us, agility is important, being able to respond to what's happening in year for our marketing teams. We're close to the insight, we're close to the real business challenges that they face. So we can jump on those and act at speed. So that is important. But I would say fundamentally the real value that we bring is having a superior understanding of our audiences. And for us, obviously, that's kids, which external agencies don't tend to have. So I think that audience understanding is what genuinely leads to great work.
That deeper insight in the business, and how does that work at Lego in terms of can you just sort of give people an example of how much closer you're able to get to the business versus an agency? You've been agency side. How are you able to get closer to the business?
We share the same KPIs as the people briefing us, so that's something that's important. There's a shared ambition. But obviously, we hear and understand the genuine business challenges. So we're able to genuinely partner. We don't have clients, there are partners. And so we spend time with our marketing teams to understand those challenges and then can proactively take solutions to them. So something like LegoCon was born, a 2-hour live stream from understanding what was happening, how our audience behaviours were changing. And so we took that idea to our marketing team. And so we understand what's going on in the business, what's important, and what would make the biggest difference.
Lovely. And Shannon, tell me about U Studio, because that's built in a different way to Lego. How did it start and how's it going?
Absolutely. So, of course, as Emma said, I think, being able to prove that you're competitive from a cost perspective is a really great door opener, if you will. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for our brands and for growing our brands is creativity, right? And, everybody should be concerned about making unmissable, bold, creative work. So we've actually doubled down on driving creativity through U Studio. We partner with our brand teams. Our teams really deeply understand our brands, the competitive landscape, and we ensure that everything that we deliver is great creatively and also delivered with creative excellence. And we have many different ways of qualifying that, but that's really helped drive the team, and it also helps drive, and retention and also external attraction as well. So it's been really helpful to focus on that.
Yeah, thank you. Matt, tell me about Pepsi, how it started and where you are now.
We always started from the KPI or the input of great creativity and bringing creative to the heart of the business. As an output, naturally, you're going to save money, right? But it should never be your input. I think the myth was probably true 5 to 7 or 8 years ago, where people were just doing it to speed things up, save money. Whereas now, I think brands who recognize that creativity is such a growth driver, that they're starting to focus and pivot towards it being a creative first opportunity.
Yeah, and you're really demonstrating that with how did the Cannes Lion wins go down across the organisation?
Yeah, I think it went all right. Yeah, it was a bit of a surreal moment. I think we've had that goal really to get to that level since we started, but we're already starting to look at how we better it. We're never settling for where we're at. I think, and the business understands our ambition and our love of the brands, right? You know, like we work for PepsiCo because we love the brands. Like I grew up on What's-Its and Monster Munch, you know, so for me it's like a great place to be.
Yeah, Monster Munch, my favourite childhood snack. It brings me to my next myth, and there might be some differing opinions across there because I don't think there's a black and white answer, but that in-house creative teams don't need external agency partners. I've certainly met a lot of in-house leaders who have an appetite to not work eventually with agency partners. But Emma, what's your view on agency partners? How do you use them as part of the mix? And what's your ambition at Lego in regards to external agencies?
So we have a lead agency model. So agencies are procured through Lego Agency, and we manage the output of external agencies. So being the experts in communication within the Lego group, if you come to the Lego Agency and think you're going to be the most creative person in the room, you'll be shocked, you know, because there are futurists thinking about the future of play, there are toy designers. So communication is really what we specialise in. So it makes sense to have a lead agency model, and it also makes sense that, I mean, since I've been at the Lego Group has doubled in size, it's doubled in revenue, so we can't build every capability in-house, and with the proliferation of channels and the evolving marketing mix, there are specialist agencies that we pull in to work with, also if we want a fresh perspective. But it all comes through us as a central governing body, if you like.
So you are the lead agency, would you call, when you use that term,
Yep.
lead agency? Lego
Yep.
are leading, and then you're pulling the partners.
That's
Shannon, what's it like at U Studio? What's the setup for you?
Sure. We work with Unilever's brands across the world. I think we work with over 350 brands at any time, so we have an incredible stretch across Unilever's ecosystem. That said, Unilever has a thriving ecosystem of agency partners, holding group agencies, creative independents, specialty boutique agencies, some specific capabilities as well. So U Studio will partner with our external agencies where it's appropriate to do so. We also take end-to-end, mainly in the digital space, on work with brands as well. So we mix and match depending on what our brands would like to do with their creative ecosystem, and we collaborate with them to make that happen. And all of the agency partners are very good at collaborating. We've been now live for 8 years or so, so we've had a lot of practice and developed a lot of ways of collaboration, so it works pretty well.
And have your agency needs changed in the past few years in terms of you finding that you are using agencies for different skills than you might have been doing 3 or 4 years ago?
Well, I mean, the digital landscape has changed, so of course capabilities have changed along with that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the agencies themselves have changed, but obviously each agency, including U Studio, has of course evolved their capabilities to meet the changing platforms and landscape that we all work within.
Yeah, thank you. Matt, what's your view on working with external agency partners?
So at PepsiCo, we have like an agency ecosystem where external agencies and internal agencies work on a whole range of different briefs. It's really who's suited to the brief, right? And it's that decision is made purely on what's best for the brand. So like, there's a lot of conversations I have of like, actually, you're better suited working with X or Y than us because that's much more their sweet spot, or they've done some really exciting stuff in that space before. They're the experts, and we don't need to work with external partners. We're full service, so we can do end to end, and we don't rely on our partners. The only time when we work with external agencies is probably on like Walkers, which is led by VCP, who are incredible. They lead the brand strategy, and our strategy team and our creative director there work closely with them to just help grow that brand under that core brand platform. But we would never work on the same project. It's more work on that brand together to drive the growth of that brand and that core brand platform that the brand has.
Yeah, thank you. All right, it leads me on to my next myth. And the myth is that you can't keep and attract and retain good talent in-house. What's your view on talent in-house? What are you seeing? Is it easier to get talent? Is it easier to keep it?
We possibly have an unfair advantage at the Lego Group because we're a creative business at our heart. Creativity is a value. So attracting talent isn't a problem. And there's a kind of genuine love, like Matt mentioned, for the brand that attracts people. That said, retention is a double-edged sword in a way. And I once read a stat that in terms of external agencies, the average tenure is 2 to 3 years, and the FTSE 100 is 12 years. So when you retain talent for a long time, particularly in an agency landscape, it's really super important that you grow your talent, and that learning and development is fundamental to the teams, so that the work that they continue to create is fresh and new and pushing the business and the marketing boundaries. So we invest a huge amount in learning and development, and you see that. You can understand the business model of external agencies. If people are only staying for 2 to 3 years, it doesn't make as much sense to invest from a learning and development perspective. So there's a huge investment in our people, whether that's sending them to Young Lions, Swiss Business School. There's all kinds of things at the Lego Group, a whole program, a marketing academy, and we're super fortunate. And we also give our teams in the agency 1 day a month. It's called FabulAb, where they can take the day to learn a new skill. And that's a business imperative, actually, to make sure that they have their finger on the pulse of our audiences and what's happening externally.
Yeah, that's true. You see that a lot within house. You have the infrastructure of the organisation you're within, and what comes with that is a lot of those benefits, isn't there? Shannon, what about you in terms of talent, keeping and retaining talent in-house?
When we first launched U-Studio 8 years ago, it was a lot harder to attract talent because in-housing, wasn't as prevalent at that point. I know some companies, obviously Lego, have been doing it for quite a while, but it wasn't that prevalent and front and center, if you see what I mean. So I would say it was a lot harder to draw talent then. But as in-housing has become more prevalent, as agencies are now winning awards at Cannes, Campaign Global In-House Agency of the Year, U-Studio's bagged that several years in a row, then that actually helps attract talent. I'm not saying that awards are the end-all and be-all, but it does help demonstrate the quality of the work that teams are doing, and that does drive growth and retention, actually.
Yes, I know in prep for this session, Emma, you said that you recently did an application for a role and you got 500 applicants versus several years ago where you would struggle to get that many. So there's definitely an appetite.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Matt, tell us about attracting and keeping talent at Pepsi. I know you're in a great place now, but you have been on a 4-year journey behind the scenes, working hard to get where you are today.
Yeah, like the team we have now, the talent we have now, it's been fluid over the last 4 years, right? People have come in, culturally they've not fit, we've moved them on, because as a small team, when you're small, you need to have the right people around the table, your right family, everyone needs to roll up their sleeves, everyone needs to lean in. I think the last couple of years, what I've seen is I get bombarded with LinkedIn messages, emails from teams wanting to leave agencies because they're not making any work. They're pitching, people want their lives back, and I think the beautiful thing about what we're doing is we've created that culture and that environment where we don't pitch and we don't work weekends and late nights. We're a partner to the brand, so if we need more time, we ask for it. It's like we're in this together, right? We're all on the same journey to grow these brands. If we're not ready, then a day or two will help us, rather than breaking people's backs to get work done through the night or at the weekends and stuff. I think that's the environment that we've we pride ourselves on at Sips and Bites and what we've tried to create from day one. And I think people have come in, like contractors, like every contractor that's come in has gone perm, and we've had very little very little people leave us in 4 years, which is another thing to be proud of. But I think it's just, you learn, like I've been in external agencies for 16 years before I came to PepsiCo, and it's like, I've seen how not to do it. Like I've been through that, and I was like, I don't want to create an environment, because I don't believe that creates the best work. So we've kind of put our flag in the ground of like what we're about, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, nice one, thank you. It leads me on to my last myth, which, it's a conversation I have a lot with industry people, is we've been here before in housing, the pendulum swings, it always swings back again. I would definitely put a big wager on that not happening, but I'm interested in your take, what you're seeing, beyond your teams, in the landscape. What do you think is the future of in-housing creativity?
Shall I go?
Yes, sorry. Yes, go first.
I think for us, if anything, we're kind of doubling down on the approach, because the lead agency model has really only been in place recently, and that is testament to the value that the in-house team can bring. I think the proliferation of channels, the marketing transformation that most businesses are going on. I appreciate that these things are circular. What does tend to swing is local to global. So there are shifts, and that's the right thing, because the business needs to shift as our consumers shift and so on. But I would say certainly I'd be amazed if any business who doesn't stick with an in-house setup doesn't see enormous value. We talk about the benefits of being inside, but that's, yes, speed, cost. All of the team here have talked about collaboration. I don't think you can underestimate how awesome it is if you love genuinely creating work that solves business challenges. The freedom that you have, I think if the in-house setup is a good one, and you can create that creative environment with the ambition that we've all spoken about in terms of the work, people love working in-house. And you retain that talent and you add the value to the business.
Yeah, I think solving those business problems creatively is one of the most rewarding things about in-house, isn't it? Shannon, what are you seeing? What's your lens on the in-housing landscape?
I think in-housing is here to stay. I would definitely put my money on that one. I think different teams do different types of work. As Matt was talking about, they do full service end-to-end. U-Studio focuses mainly on digital. I think different companies are probably going to dial up and dial down capabilities. The other obvious, elephant in the room is, of course, Gen AI is changing hugely for everybody, whether you're in-house or external. So that is going to bring a lot of change over the coming years, and also will help transform probably what the mixture of in-house versus external agencies will be doing. I don't think that in-housing is going to go away at all. I think it's just going to continue to get stronger. But we might see the types of work that people are doing and how they're doing it change. That's what I'd expect.
Yeah, thank you. Matt, what's your lens? Especially being at Cannes last week as well. Were you at Cannes?
Yes. I think it's here to stay. Like any brand that values creativity needs to have it in their business, in some shape or form. I actually think the future is more of a hybrid. I think the future, the exciting part of the future that I think is yet to be unlocked, is how external agencies, specialists in different types of audiences or technology or so on, how they collaborate with in-house agencies to unlock bigger, better ideas. Because there's always been a tension between external agencies and in-house, and I think as soon as everyone just leans into it and works together, I think the work that will come from that will be much, much bigger, much stronger, much more insightful, much more human. I think that might be an unlock. And I do see some agencies, external agencies, leaning into that. I know DoorDash do a lot of that with Gut in the US, and they won the Titanium at Cannes, and that's, look at that relationship, it's incredible. So I think that for me is the thing that I think should be the future, about how we all sit around the table, how we all crack the problems, because there's plenty of work to go around.
Yeah, nice sentiment. Well, we're just coming up to time. I always like to leave the people in the room with one takeout. What's a takeout for people here who are interested in housing? What's a takeout that you have for the audience today?
I think sort of summing up some of the things we said earlier, but you know, unlocking those benefits, you can start something, but to really see it flourish, listening definitely to Matt and Shannon, creating that environment for ambitious work that's really pushing back boundaries, and being able to do that because you've got all the decision makers around the table. So that closeness that Matt spoke about, to not just the understanding of the brand, but the relationships you have, that's where you really unlock value. So whilst it might not start there, that needs to be the ambition.
Lovely, thank you. Shannon?
Yeah, I would echo that. Definitely, I think collaboration and making sure that you bring all of your stakeholders along with you is super critical. You know, not just the marketeers, obviously brand owners, of course, are paramount to that, but all aspects of your company, including, for example, procurement and legal, looking at all those facets and making sure that you have a really robust offering, because that's actually how you move forward at pace.
Lovely. And Matt?
What do I want? If you love a brand, like, go and work for them. Like, you get to spend your day like Emma on Lego. Like, what a fun job. Like, I can imagine there's Lego all over your desk, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a bit envious if I'm just eating
versus your Doritos.
But, yeah, I think if you love a brand like so much, go and work there. Like, and go and learn about that business. And go and put your passion for that brand on the line, and you'll just get so much more out of it day to day, instead of working on a brand you don't really care about, like a car or, you know, a tech giant or something. You know, like, care about who you work for and what you do, and you'll get so much more out of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much to the panel. If you want to know more about in-housing, we have a free report on the Inside Out community. Thank you all for joining us today.
And Emma, there are a couple of questions. There are a couple of questions. Am I right to direct them to you, and then you pass them on to whoever you think might be most relevant? The first was, how do you keep the inspiration topped up for creative ideas, the value of external partners being that they're in the weeds of innovation and in multiple sectors?
Sorry, could you say that question again?
Yeah, of course. So how do you keep the inspiration of the in-house teams topped up with creative ideas, the value being of external partners that they're in the weeds of innovation in multiple other sectors?
So how do you keep who would like to answer that one?
Yeah, we every week we have someone from the creative world come in. So, you know, an artist or a photographer or a director or a production company. We have like an inspiration like lunch every week. It sounds, but it's just us sitting in a room talking about other people's work and being inspired by passion projects from different creatives that live outside of the agency world. But we also go to events together but the one thing I think I push my team to do is to, like, down tools, spend time with your family, go and see things, be inspired by the world. Like, don't work all night. Like, I don't want to see people online at like 9 o'clock.
Such a good point. I don't think it's a myth to borrow your language, that inspiration comes from just industry events or innovations. And then the final one is actually for the audience here that do work for agencies. What advice could you give to us for finding a place alongside you in-house? What should we focus on?
Emma, Shannon?
Well, I think Matt just gave the best advice. You know, work for someone that you love. If you show that passion, I mean, it is a love affair working for the Lego Group. I spend my time watching every episode of The Acolyte, of One Piece, going to the Hyper Japan. You know, you have to love. There are people who don't even build with Lego bricks in our organisation, but the truth is that you get the most out of it. And I think you make that connection with the work, and that deep connection in the work can be felt by the audiences. So love the brand and find your place.
Yeah, thank you.
I think just to your, like, so for you guys and other agencies, lean into the in-house teams. Like, you know, work together.
Yeah.
Like, answer the problems together.
Yeah, and to sum up on my reflection, because we're at time, I mean, I love working with in-house teams. You're so talented, and I think, to your point a couple of times, it means that creativity is at the heart of the business. It's respected, it's listened to, it's seen as a driver of growth, it's seen as a real innovation driver. So yeah, a huge thank you. I really, really enjoyed that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.